Good afternoon, YouTube, and today we'll be doing a review of the new Samsung Galaxy A53. Now, this has been a highly anticipated phone for me for quite some time. Not ever since release, but ever since I've pretty much discovered it. But before we get into other things about it, I want to bring why I decided to get this phone. Back in November, if you remember, I uploaded a video on the S10 Plus. Nowadays, me today, I think it sucks. It's pretty much the worst phone I've ever had in terms of like performance. Whenever I'm making a call, the service likes to randomly cut out, and the person I'm talking to, we just stop talking for a second. It's pretty annoying. It does come back, but the problem is it's like you wouldn't want that to happen in case of an emergency. Another problem I had with it was that the phone would just randomly turn on or randomly turn off, just nonchalant. That was something that I found super annoying about it. About the S10. And another thing is that the battery for the S10 Plus drains unbelievably fast. Now, as I said before, the one that I got is from a seller called Cell Surfers. If you're looking into buying a phone on Amazon, avoid them at all costs. This phone is honestly got quite junky over time. Overall, it's good in certain other aspects, but not in terms of actual usage. But today this is the primary focus. Is this device. Now, first we're gonna go over the overall specs of the A53. First, let's talk about the display. The display has a 120 gigahertz 1080p by 2400p display with a total of 405 ppi, which means that it has about 405 pixels per inch of the device. It's 6.5 inches and has Super AMOLED, which is pretty good for a modern day mid-range device. Now let's go over the software. It supports this one specifically supports 6 gigabytes of RAM, has 128 gigabytes of storage, or it is expandable up to 1 terabyte. It supports Exynos 1280, which is a average processor for a smartphone of this tier. And it has a 2.4 by 2.0 gigahertz octa-core processor. And one sec. But yeah, that's pretty much it about the specs. Now let's go over the camera. It has a 32 megapixel selfie camera, which when records takes up the full HD 60 FPS. And the same thing with the main camera in the back. It has a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 64 megapixel regular wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. Now when it comes to overall structure, the front glass is Gorilla Glass 5, which is quite durable, more durable than the A51. The edge housing and the back are plastic, but to be honest, it doesn't feel like plastic. It feels more like a flagship model. Even though we know it's not that, but it still feels quite nice in the hands. So this is what the camera looks like. I'm unable to show you on here, but it looks pretty nice. This is the front-facing selfie camera on 32 megapixels. It overall looks pretty nice with my own eyes, and it captures the detail in my face quite well. The focus is nice and the colors are vibrant. So overall, what you should expect in a smartphone of this tier. Now this one is Straight Talk locked, or you can use Verizon's SIM cards, I believe, since Straight Talk is owned by Verizon. But when we're talking about it universally, it can support all carriers. The one thing that the A53 doesn't have, or pretty much any A-series model, is that it does not have Samsung DeX. Samsung DeX is what allows you to plug in your phone to a laptop or any other PC device and use it as like a regular computer desktop. I hope Samsung can add that to the A-series models, but they're yet to do that. One thing I like about the overall like exterior design is that the camera module has a more sloped, more curved edge, and so that dust won't be able to build up as easily, and it'll be hard to clean out around the edges. One thing that the A51 has that the A53 doesn't have is a 3.5mm headphone jack. In its place is the SIM tray where you put your SIM card and your expandable storage. That is an absolute bummer. That's not entirely a problem for me because I have my own Bluetooth headphones or earbuds. One thing I do like about this is just overall how it feels. It kind of feels like an iPhone, to be honest. Like if Samsung tried to make an iPhone in terms of design. But going over the battery, it has a 25-watt fast-charging 5,000 milliamp battery, which is very nice. Which this is comparable to phones like the S8 in terms of processing power. I got this phone for about $200 through Straight Talk, which is $50 less than what they were originally selling it for. But then now let's go over into the internal specs of it. Like, now display, I have set to max brightness. Motion smoothness is set to high. Sorry, I'm trying to look for these edge panels. You can add other softwares. Like I'm gonna add this, and I'm also gonna add tools. Those are the three ones they added. It still has that fun little tool, which I've always been a huge fan of. Like we have the compass. We also have the tally counter. You can restart it from the bottom of the button. Flashlight, which is kind of pointless. Surface level, which allows you to see how level the surface is. Kind of like, see, like we're at perfect according to this. I can calibrate it, but I don't know. I'll have to look at an actual like level with the little green bubbles on the inside. And then the final tool is a ruler, which you can use to measure stuff with it, which I find useful for some things. One thing I like is what I call pre-crop screenshots, where you press the rectangle, you can take a screenshot that you don't have to crop. You can crop it right there, and it's when you save it, it'll save you space. I've had that with my A51 and my S10 Plus, and it has been an absolute luxury to have. And I highly recommend using it if you're wanting to screenshot certain things. Now, it hasn't always on display. You can either do tap to show, or I can go tap that and it shows the time, the date, and the battery percentage, and the notifications I have. You can edit it to where it can show things like the weather. Now we have screen rotate, portrait, and landscape, auto brightness, which you can adjust based on the lighting that it's detecting. Clock style, I honestly prefer this one. I've always liked it more. You can even edit the colors of it, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to keep it at simple white for now. You can also do show music information, like if you're listening to Spotify or iTunes, or why did I say iTunes? Or YouTube music, you can have that on. And you about always on display, version 8.0.60, the latest version that's been installed. But yeah, that's like the display things. Now let's go over to battery. Currently about 46% left, and that was about an hour. It was about 50% of an hour ago when this has a quite long-lasting battery. It's currently using about 3 gigabytes of memory, which is okay, I guess. There is a few games that I plan on playing. And about phone, I have nothing. This is the factory model, meaning that there's no SIM tool in it. There's no contacts. It's just like how you'd see the phone on display at like a store. Oh, you don't want to see that. That's my IP. Software info. Version 5, One UI version 5.0, Android 13. These are all the other. Wait, what's that? There's all the security software information. Battery info. Not charging, 46%, 5,000 milliamp typical. The typical capacity has been tested under third-party laboratory conditions. The typical capacity is the estimated average capacity considering the deviation in battery capacity among battery samples tested under IEC 61960 standard. The rated capacity is 4860 milliamps. Actual battery life may vary depending on network environment, usage patterns, and factors. It means like the more apps you have running, the faster the battery will drain, the brightness and everything. But with it at max brightness, and I've had several apps on it already, it lasts quite a while. I like it a lot. But to those who are just wanting a simple mid-range device, I highly recommend this. I really do so far. I will be making a video of how I feel about it 1 month later. And so far, this phone, it does feel pretty nice in the hands. If you like what you saw, don't hesitate to hit that sub and like button, and I'll be seeing y'all later.